So in the last video, we looked at how you find the slope using a graph. In this video, we're going to be talking about how you find the slope using a table. All right, so similar steps. It's a little more math because we're not looking at a picture, but the same type of process. You're going to choose 2 points, this time from the table. You're going to find the change in their y values. Well, on the graph, we could just count those, okay? But basically what you're going to be doing is subtracting the y coordinates, okay? And remember, we called this the rise, okay? You won't see it because it's in a table. And then the third step is to find the change in their x values. So again, you're subtracting their x values, okay? On a graph, we can just count those, and we call it the run. It's the horizontal change, right? Then you're going to write the values as a ratio, okay, which is really just another way to write a fraction. All right, and the slope, which uses the letter m to mean slope, is really the change in y. You're going to write it as the change in y over the change in x, or the rise over the run. All right, and then because you're writing it as a fraction, again, you want to make sure you simplify it before you count yourself done. All right, so it asks us to find the slope of each of the tables and then use the slope to determine the direction of the line. So we looked at that last time as well when we looked at the graphs. All right, so the first step is to choose 2 points on the table. I'm just going to choose the first two. Then it says find the change in their y value. So that would be over here. So I need to know how much these are changing. So how do I go from 1 to 7? Now you have to be really careful on change, right? Because you want to make sure that that you pay attention to whether or not it's positive or negative. All right, so to go from 1 to 7, okay, that went up, right? That's a positive change. It went up 6. What's the change over here? It went up 4, right? And this will always be the same no matter what you choose because these are all lines. All right, so the slope, remember I write the slope as the change in y, the change in the y values, that would be 6, over the change in the x values, 4. Right, and the last step is to make it simplified if you can. So I can divide these both by 2. This would be 3 over 2, okay? And the slope is what? It's positive, which means what? What direction is my line going to go? When the slope is positive, the line goes up, okay? So 3 over 2 and up. Now, you're going to see a slope formula, maybe next year, I think, where they actually write it out as you look at the y coordinates. The other way I could have done this is I could have done, okay, the change in y, so I could have picked, start it with a point, doesn't matter. I could do 1 minus 7 or 7 minus 1 as long as I do it in the same order. So I'm going to do 7 minus 1 because that's easier to subtract. So the change in y would be 7 minus 1. The change in x would be 7 minus 3. Since I started with this 7, I have to start with this 7. 7 minus 3 would give me 6 over 4, okay, which is the same thing as I had here, right? It's just another way to write the slope. We did it because we could do it in our head on the table, but you can also write it out and show that you're subtracting. The slope formula will have you do that when you do get to it next year. All right, so in the next one, we want to find the change in y. So right here, how much did it change? And the change in x, how much did it change here? Well, to get from 16 to 14, first of all, did it go up or down? It went down, so we know that's a negative change, right? How much did it go down? 2. All right, here it went from 1 to 2. That's a positive change, right? It went up 1. All right, so if we write this as a ratio of our change in y over our change in x, the y was negative 2, the x was positive 1, right? Then to simplify it, that's just negative 2. So my slope is negative 2. It's negative, so which direction is my line going to go? It's going to go down because of the negative. Again, if you want to write this out using the coordinates, if you can't subtract this in your head, you can always just start the slope by subtracting the y. So start with a value. If you're going to use 16 first and subtract 14, then you have to start with 1 first and subtract 2. So I did 16 minus 4 and 1 minus 2. 16 minus 4 is 2. 1 minus 2, I could keep change opposite. That would give me negative 1. 2 divided by negative 1, is that the same thing as negative 2? Yes, it doesn't matter where I put that negative. It's also negative 2. Okay, in the next one, I'm going to find my change in my y. So 6 minus 6 is what? 0. My change in my x, how much did it go And did it go up or down? So here it was the same, right? Here, if you go from -1 to 0, that's going up. That's a positive change. How much did it go up? It went up 1. You're not sure? Then do this one. How much did it go up? It went up 1. All right, I'm going to write that ratio as the change in y. So the 0 comes first over the change in x, which is 1. All right, 0, it's over the line, right? So it's just going to equal 0. So I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video. If it's under the line, it's undefined. If it's over the line, then it's just 0. So think about the O and over. Or you can think of it as 1 times what is equal to 0, 0. All right, so my slope is 0. And what happens when I have a 0 slope? Okay, well, O is in over, okay, but it's also in horizontal. So this is a horizontal line. Okay, so over the line is 0. If 0 is horizontal, horizontal line. So horizontal going left to right. All right, number 4. The table shows the relationship between the number of seconds y it takes to hear thunder after a lightning strike and the miles x you are from the lightning. So find the slope, then explain what the slope represents. All right, so same as before, my y and my x, I want to find my change in y. So notice this is going up, so this is positive 5. This is also going up, so this is positive 2, change of 2, 5 over 2. All right, slope is the change in y over x, so 5 over 2. It cannot be simplified. So this is my slope. As a line, the slope would be going up. Where? It would be going up because it's positive. But in this case, the slope is representing seconds and miles. So they're not talking about just what direction the line is going. They want to know how I would interpret this. Okay, so really, this is talking about 5 seconds compared to 2 miles. And what does that mean, 5 seconds and 2 miles? Well, think about what they're talking about. It means if you're 2 miles away, or it takes 5 seconds, right, for the lightning to get there. So you could say, if you were trying to interpret what this ratio means, you could say something like every 5 seconds, the thunder travels 2 miles. Right? So have you ever done that outside where you see lightning and then you count it? And then if you can get to 5, then you know it's at least 2 miles away. If you get to 1, it's really close. Go back inside. Okay. All right. The table contains data collected about plant height from a science fair project. Find the slope, then explain what the slope means. All right. So we haven't done a lot of these, but you can also have fractions and decimals in your tables and in your graphs. But the process is still the same. So we want to find the change. This is like our x and this is like our y. Our change in our y, right? So we need to do 3. 3 is bigger than 1.5, so I'm going to subtract that. I have to add a 0 to this and a decimal, so I can subtract 1.5, and I'm going to get 1.5. So my change in y is 1.5, and then here 1 to 2. Okay, that's also a positive change. So this is going up 1. So if I write my ratio as the change in y, 1.5, over the change in x, which is 1, then that simplifies to just 1.5. Okay? Or if I want to leave it as a fraction because I have to interpret the slope. Now this is positive, so I know my line is going up. That's not really what they mean here. They want to know what it represents. So this is 1.5 what? 1.5 centimeters compared to what? 1 week. Like 1 week. Okay? So I can just leave it as 1.5, but since I'm trying to figure out what it means, I'm going to leave it as a fraction right now. So what does that mean? It means every week your plant is growing what? 1.5 centimeters. So that's how you would interpret it. Plant grows 1.5 centimeters every week. Or you could even say per week, so because that would mean 1 week. All right, so finding the slope from a table. Again, you want to find the difference or subtract the y coordinates. Just keep them in the same order as your x coordinates. Okay, so do the same. To find the change in the y, the change in the x, write it as a ratio. Make sure you always put the y on top, y over x, and then simplify it if you can. All right, see you in class.